If you guys enjoy the content on my art videos, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Odyssey. You can also find me on TikTok as well. Okay, with that said, let's see what we can learn today. Hello everybody, welcome back to my How to Color Crash Course series on how to color. If you guys remember, I have 2 videos that are up and ready to go. You guys can see part 1 and 2 on how to color. I'm going to actually change the thumbnail later on for how to color for color theory. But today we're focusing on grayscale. So what is grayscale? Grayscale is a range of monochromatic shades from black to white. Therefore, a grayscale image contains only shades of grays and no color. Image editing programs allow you to convert a color image to black and white or grayscale. This process removes all color information, leaving only the luminance of each pixel. So basically, it's just pretty much putting all your colors in gray, or starting with gray and then putting color. But we're not doing that today. We're going to be focusing on just grayscale, the term, and that's pretty much it. This is something I should have did first because I think the best way to learn grayscale is to understand values. So what are values? Values defines how light or dark a given color or a hue can be. Values are best understood when visualized as a scale or gradient from dark to light. The more tonal variance in an image, the lower the contrast. When shades of similar value are used together, they also create a low contrast image. So basically, to understand value under these circumstances is that you must understand your tints, your tones, and shades. So what are tints and tones and shades? This is something I mentioned in the first video. It'll probably pop up over there in the corner somewhere, so you guys can refer back to this. But I'm going to give you a quick brief of what this is. Tints is pretty much white, tones are grays, and shades represent black of color. White usually represents the light. Gray is somewhere in the mid-tones for anything from dark to light. It's pretty much just dead in the middle, in the center. After that, it comes with shades. Shades actually pulls back with black and shadows. So when people ask you about shading, they usually means the shadow of a certain color, or when putting shadows in a certain atmosphere in some form. So as you can see with the base color, you take the base color, add it to white, and make it more lighter. If you had the base color and you add gray, it'd be more palish looking. When you add black to the base color, you get a shade of a darker color of the base color. So that's pretty much it. The thing you have to know about your tints, tones, and shades is that there's something else that I'm going to mention. It will come up later on in the video, but we'll focus on that a little later. I want you to just focus on those 3 things, and then to combine those things, we usually use something called the value scale. What is the value scale? The value scale in art is referring to the range of darkness to lightness within your painting. The more range, the more realistic things will appear. Value is the term used to describe just how dark or how light areas and objects are within your painting. Scale is referring to a linear change. So like it shifts between light to dark, from the mids to the lights to the mids to the darks. So it's something like that. Now, if asking depending on who you're asking, the value scale can be a number system ranging from 1 to 10, but we have 1 to 11. That doesn't make much of a difference, but it does show that there is a scale. The scale is actually just letting you know how dark something is or how light something is. Like I said, it depends on who you're talking to. Your teacher may call your 1 the darkest number that you have, or another teacher or person, who, depending on who you're talking to, their darkest color could be their most highest number, which is 11. Usually it's from ranging 1 to 10 to keep things more even in that sense, but since we don't really have to worry about that right now, just focus on the numbers if that makes it easier for you. So when someone says, if you're using a 6, for instance, and you want to go higher in brightness, you go 3 tints up. So from the mid, the tone, you're going to go 3 shades up, so you'll be stuck on a 9, if anything, depending on what scale you're looking at. So there's that. So it's just subjective in that sense, but it pretty much follows the same rules in that way. So there you go. Now we're going to demonstrate some coloring here. I'm going to give you guys a brief understanding of what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is putting the darkness first and then putting the light after. It depends on how you do this. Some people put the light first and then darkness, but I think putting darkness makes it more easier to understand because that's usually the first thing we usually concern ourselves with. And I think I did a pretty good job with this circle. In overall, like, concept wise, I think I could have did more with this, but since this was like a speed type of thing, I had to move as fast as possible without thinking. I was just keeping my values quite normal, quite not too crazy, just kept it pretty normal, and then putting it on one side showing where the light's coming from, but that's pretty much it. But there is something that is kind of missing, and I don't know if you guys can see it or you guys will notice it. There's a term that we use that is called ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is a method to compute lighting on a surface of an object that takes into account light brightness due to occlusion of the surface in relation to light source, in contrast with local shading methods like Fong and Blinn. This means shading with ambient occlusion adds more realism. So technically, when you hear this term ambient occlusion, which you're going to see a lot when it comes to grayscale, it's pretty much targeting the areas where light can't reach. So like in video games, you're going to see this a lot, like 3D modeling. I'm focusing on those corners that is super dark, like super dark, than just the shadows. The shadows don't matter. So what we're focusing on here is just that darkness right under it. Gives the ball more of a, not that floating feeling when you're doing the shading thing, but when you add actual like ambient occlusion, like the darkest dark areas under the ball or like a car or anything like that, it gives it that sense of more realism, especially if you know how to blend it together. That's something we're going to talk about next video. I think that's going to be pretty much my last video for coloring for now, and then I'll be focusing on something I need to announce. But right now, as we see, if you use this technique, it'll make things a lot more easier. I was going to mention ambient light, but I think I'll do that in the following video, because I think that's something that should be more seen in color than in grayscale. I think I might confuse people, so I'd rather just go that way. So I'm targeting under there. So if you guys are wondering what that is, it just means the darkest area where the light can't reach. That's pretty much it is. So if you ever get confused with what that is, there you go. So, okay guys, thank you for watching my video. This is a crash course on grayscale. I hope it was somewhat informative in any way I could. I didn't mean to make this super short as much as possible, but I tried to make it as reasonable as possible without being too boring, or the case may be, because I think I got some messages that was a bit boring on the last video. But I would like to make an announcement that I'm making a full course on art and these very topics and a more deep dive understanding of these things like shapes, anatomy, and color. So I'm going to let you guys know about that after the last video, and I won't be making any videos after that. So I'll be focusing most on my courses. So when I get that done, I'll announce it to you guys very soon. So look out very soon after the video on blending and picking colors. So thank you so much, guys. See you guys in the next one. Keep it plus ultra. Bye.